Melissa Stoeltje is the general assignment reporter, San Antonio Express News. Josh Brodesky, editorial page editor of the San Antonio Express News. And thank you both for joining us on The Conversation Continues. Josh, the Express News has extensively covered this week's constitutional amendment election. About 10% turnout. What's your read on that?
Well, it's a big improvement from 2 years ago. It's the highest turnout, I think, in 14 years for an off-year election. And at the same time, 90% of voters didn't turn out. I think we have a lot of work to do in terms of getting voters more engaged in the process and exercising their votes. We should be happy about the increase, but we shouldn't really celebrate moral victories too much.
And that means 1 in 10 Texans is deciding the fate of this state.
Exactly. I mean, that's what's incredible is that 9.5%, well, in Bexar County, I don't know what the overall turnout was statewide, but in Bexar County, 9.5% of voters made decisions on behalf of everybody else.
And then we had a couple of changes at the polls. We had different voting machines. We had a new system of voting on Election Day. Talk about how that figured in.
I thought the new machines worked great. I think the rollout for those was outstanding. And I think the ability to go to any polling place on Election Day, much like you do in early voting, I think that worked great, and that probably played a large role in increased turnout on Election Day.
And this very much bodes well for what will probably be the biggest turnout we've ever seen in an election in 2020.
Yeah, no, I think it bodes well in terms of the handling of the election here. So great job to Bexar County elections.
Melissa, you have extensively covered the city's effort to come up with a plan to fight domestic violence. Talk a little about where we stand with that and what parts of the plan are going to take effect right away.
Okay, so this was really caused by, the plan was created because of this really startling and worrying rise in domestic violence fatalities over the last several years. As the overall homicide rate has declined, not so domestic violence fatalities. So the city and the county have come up with this 5-year plan to really try to get out in front of domestic violence before it escalates to homicides. So in the first year, the city and the county are going to focus on prevention campaigns, public service announcements, getting anti-violence curricula in the schools, positive parenting programs that help address child abuse, which of course is a taproot for domestic violence. So in this first year, they're really going to focus on getting the word out to prevent violence, to get people, victims and offenders the help they need, to get guns out of the hands of offenders, and really sort of address this upstream versus downstream when people are already in the system, going to jail, being put in the hospital. That's really the goal in this first year.
And how well thought out do you think this is? Is this a plan that can work?
Personally, I think so. The city, particularly Jenny Hickson, did a remarkable job looking at data sets, talking to victims, talking to advocates, talking to stakeholders, the police, the DA, to come up with this plan. It's extremely well thought out, and they've really addressed some of the existing gaps where people fall through the safety net. So I think more so than the efforts in the past, this is really a well thought out plan, and they've got a lot of energy behind it and money. There's going to be $1 million put toward this goal.
I assume it's a long range plan.
Yeah, there's 5 years that include things like reaching out to immigrant populations, the LGBTQ population. But for right now, the focus is really on prevention and, like I said, getting upstream to try and deal with these very troubled and families that really need help so people can stay safe and be part of the community.
And this conversation will continue. Melissa Stoeltje, general assignment reporter of the San Antonio Express News. Josh Brodesky, editorial page editor of the Express News. Thank you for joining us for The Conversation Continues.